Efficient in the field, coming in hot with another video for y'all today. Dudes, it is November 7th, 2024, 2 days post-election. The dust is starting to settle, and we are absolutely on track for a civil war. I'm going to tell you why, my thoughts on it, but it's always a conversation on this channel, so make sure you're commenting your opinions down below. Let's talk about it. And this channel is a survival and prepping channel, right? So why is this guy talking about the election? Well, it's because this is a results-oriented channel, and paying attention to current events in the country in which you live, and even beyond that, is definitely part of the 20% that can produce 80% of the results for you when shit hit the fan. It shows you what you need to be prepping for. And in my personal opinion, right now, civil war is what you need to be prepping for. I know some of you guys are like, E and the F, it's going to be a revolution. We don't know what it's going to be until it's over, dudes. We don't, man. They name these things after the fact. But I think we can all agree that we're looking at some crazy hard times in the near future of America. Actually, there's this kid who's super smart, man. He's got this YouTube channel called, like, What If Alt History or something like that. His name's Rudyard something or other. But his brain is like a sponge. And the kid can read all this history, and he extrapolates all this data from it. He does much the same kind of thing that I do, except I'm more focused in the 20% of history that's going to show me the 80% likelihood of what's going to go down in the future. And I've been saying that I feel like we're going to have a civil war in between now and like March, April of this next year, or we're going to see one around the next election cycle. And he says the same thing, dudes. Well, he says in the next year, we're going to have a civil war, or in the next 5 years, which is effectively the same thing I'm saying. So I'm like, yeah, freaking, I feel like I nailed it. I don't know if I nailed it yet, guys, because this thing actually hasn't kicked off. But I definitely feel like Trump winning puts us on the trajectory for that, and I'm going to share why. First, let's do a little recap of what's happened over the last 4 years. We had radicals from the progressive left take control of the White House and push for censorship. And what does that tell you? Well, they obviously don't give a shit about your First Amendment rights. They pushed a lot of Americans to get the, you know what I'm saying? Tons and tons of ads, ridiculous amounts of funding, misinformation campaigns about the science. Because that's what they were, right? The science was no good. Their science was shit. Believe the science, man. It's not fucking science if you can't question it. They targeted Americans that were part of peaceful protests on J6 and didn't do anything violent and have tried to make an example of them. Not to mention they had a shit ton of federal agents acting as provocateurs in the crowd that day. It's probably the most disgusting false flag that's ever been pulled on the American people ever. And it's something that the progressive leftists in the media have latched onto and just been repeating over and over again ever since. Even though largely they have their facts totally fucked up. So when it comes to the media and it comes to Hollywood, it's like Trump's a tyrant. He's a dictator. He's going to use the military against the American people. He's going to abolish the Constitution. All this crazy ass shit. And it's like, to me, being a realist and a pretty logical dude, I'm like, hold on a second. The guy did 4 years in office and he didn't do any of this shit. He's been totally targeted by the government. And I didn't even get into the lawsuits that have been brought against him, indictments, the fixed cases to turn him into a felon. I didn't even get into that shit, but let's get back on the journalists here. Man, they have been going to bat against this guy. They've thrown everything they have at him. Look at all the Hollywood figures and people in the news that are like, I'm leaving the country if Trump wins. Pack your bags, motherfuckers. Let's go, man. Pack your bags. As a matter of fact, If any of those people hit me up on social media, I will give you a drive to the fucking airport. But I bet you the huge majority of them don't leave America. And what does that tell us about their character? They're full of shit. And we can't trust anything they say. And if you're on the far left, you should be paying attention. Stop repeating the same dumbass bullshit that all these liars are saying. Look at Jimmy Kimmel, man. He's on TV like crying about it, that Trump won. You're part of the fucking problem, dude. You're part of the reason he won. Because y'all tried to stuff all kinds of bullshit down the throats of Americans over the last 4 years, and you're out of touch. You're out of touch, man. You don't understand what the heart of America really is. And it spoke in this election. And it spoke out against tyranny. Rachel Maddow, she went on this rant on her show about how Trump's going to be a dictator and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And hold on a second, man. Like, can we look at the last 4 years, what the current administration did? It's the one that's acted authoritarian. And Trump hasn't. And I'll tell you why a lot of these progressive leftists are scared shitless right now. And I'll tell you why they're all going to go even harder over the next 2.5 months. All right, dudes. Here's why. They went all in. They took all their chips and put them all in the center of the table against Trump to try to keep him from winning. All the things that they've done to this guy, man, over the last 4 years is insane. And what they did was they set a precedent. They set a precedent in America that you can use 3-letter agencies to target somebody running for office because they're your political opponent. They set a precedent that you can use district attorney's offices in numerous states and change the laws in those states so that you can charge somebody with crimes, even though the statute of limitations, you're far past that. They set the standard, and what they did was they gave Trump the justification to use the same tactics against them. That's why they're shitting bricks right now, dudes. They are absolutely scared shitless that he's going to get into office and he's going to use the same tactics on them that they used on him. And they should be fucking scared. And here's the thing. Like, here's my thoughts on it, dudes. Whatever I'm willing to do to somebody else, it's absolutely fair play that they can do the same thing to me. I'm not the okay for me, not for thee type. And I think that most liberty-loving people feel the same way about it. But remember, we're dealing with progressive leftists. They don't see it that way. They're going to play any dirty card they freaking have, man. And if you do it back to them, oh, you're a fascist. Oh, you're a dictator. You know, we need to call up Antifa and burn some cities to the ground because it has nothing to do with Trump, but we're going to fucking do it. Grow up, people. Now, there were really only 2 possible outcomes from this election, obviously. Kamala Harris wins it, or Trump wins it. And in my personal opinion, had Kamala Harris won it, and it was pretty close, I think we'd probably be where we were at the same time 4 years ago. You'd have Republicans that are bringing lawsuits claiming fraud against the Democrat Party in certain places. Some of them probably would be proven. Some of them probably would not be proven. But that's where we'd be. Instead, Trump won. And this definitely means we're on track for a civil war now, guys. Because all the progressive leftists that I was just talking about that went all in, now they have to double down. Or they have to get the fuck out. They have only so many options, dudes. It's either leave the country, pray to God you don't get targeted, or double down and do anything you can to keep Trump from actually becoming the 47th president of the United States. That's where they're at, dudes. They're stuck there. They made their bed and now they have to lie in it. And so we're not out of the woods, dudes. We aren't. We're actually on track even more now for a civil war over the course of the next 4 or 5 months. So keep your nose to the grindstone. Keep cracking away on getting your preps squared up. Because what we're going to see is we're going to see lots of these progressive leftists in the media. They're going to double down on their demonizing of Trump. They're going to try to get more of the populace to be upset about it. Rachel Maddow was just talking about how the military needs to come out and say that they're not going to let Trump use them against the people. And it's crazy, right? Because this current administration just recently updated some Department of Defense directive, I'll put it down below, where they are now saying it's legal for the military to use lethal force against the people, but she's worried about Trump doing it. The current administration is literally prepping to shoot us and kill us. And that's because, guess what? They don't want to lose control. So we could see any number of dirty tactics get employed by the government right now, dudes. We could see Joe Biden pass the torch to Kamala. We could see some kind of massive black swan events that are going to justify martial law and a postponement to the inauguration date. They might actually try to stick Trump in prison. Like, it's too late for them to bring any more charges, guys, because if you're not familiar with, like, the way the court systems work, is it takes time to bring a case to court. And they just don't have enough time to try him for anything else. As a matter of fact, this is being discussed online right now. There's also the Congressman Jamie Raskin approach, which is to get Congress, which, it might be more red than blue right now, but to get Congress to agree that Trump is ineligible. Looks like that's probably out the window without some serious leverage over politicians on the right. So we're definitely not out of the woods, guys. I think I'm going to wrap it right there, dudes. The big message to get out of this is keep cranking away on your preps. If you're a survivalist, start moving towards the prepper end of things. Okay? Even if it's only 3 months worth of food and water that you can get stored up at your house right now, it's still going to be preferable to bugging out in that initial shit hit the fan window, especially if you're not paying attention to current events and you don't get out of Dodge ahead of everybody else. So if you're a survivalist, start moving that way. Start moving towards prepping. And if you're a prepper already, just keep cranking away on your preps, guys. I'm doing it myself. You guys know that I practice what I preach. I actually purchased a new rifle recently. Very, very excited about it. This here is my most recent firearms purchase. Super, super stoked about it, pimps. I know it's not on topic when it comes to the content of this video, but I might as well show you guys this beautiful rifle. This was made by FN in Belgium, and my best guess is that it was either made between like 1936 and the early 40s before the plant was blown up by the Germans, and then rebarreled into a 30-06 later, or it was produced in the early 1950s as a 30-06. And that would have been the MLE 50. Yeah, the MLE 50. 30-06 pimps. And this rifle weighs 6 pounds, 6.5 ounces. So it's going to be fun to shoot. 17.5-inch barrel. Yep. Super, super excited about that. So I got to do some zeroing of rifles here in the next little bit. And just keeping cracking on my preps, dudes. Just keep cranking away, man. Don't quit yet. When we get to, and I'll keep you guys updated as to my thoughts on it, but I really feel like we need to make it through March, maybe April, to be out of the woods when it comes to civil war in 2025. And then there's other things we obviously can continue prepping for, but it sure takes a lot of that pressure off us, like that immediate pressure. I do think that Trump is going to drastically reduce the threat of us ending up in a nuke war with Russia. I think that's pretty much going to go away. So if we can make it through this kind of gnarly spot that we're in, financial collapse is the thing that we'll all be looking at. And for a lot of us, it's going to be a much less violent version of SHTF. You know, growing your own food, having your own livestock, that kind of thing. But that's it, dudes. I'm going to leave the video right there. I hope you guys liked it. Make sure you're part of the conversation down below, please. Like the video, share it, subscribe to the channel. Check out my Patreon link in the description. I'm actually a little bit behind on info dumps for my dudes over there. But I'm going to hammer down here in the next 5-6 days and try and get a couple of big, long videos out. So, yeah, and I have tons of additional video content on there. Far more than on my YouTube and TikTok combined, so check it out. All right, guys, that's it. Take care. Keep getting ready. I'll see you all in the next video.